The wheelchair came to a sudden stop outside Lagos Ultramodern Hospital. Cameras flashed as nurses rushed forward. Standing tall in a white kappan, Billionaire CEO Kingsley Anderson held his mother's hands and whispered, "Please, Mama, try." But Madame Amanda's legs did not respond. Her face trembled and silence fell over the crowd. A rough voice broke the stillness. "I can heal her." Heads turned. A homeless man stood at the curb, wearing a worn-out brown coat, a faded bag slung over his shoulder. His hair was unkempt, his beard tangled, and dust clung to his feet. Yet his eyes were steady, carrying the certainty of someone who knew what he was doing. Kingsley's jaw tightened. "You can what?" "I can heal her if you allow me." Security stepped forward. A nurse whispered sharply, "Sir, please ignore him." Cameras zoomed closer, but the man did not flinch. Kingsley had flown in doctors from London, Dubai, and Johannesburg. They had tried every scan, injection, and treatment. Nothing worked. Money was not the issue. Hope was. He took one careful step toward the man. "What did you say your name is?" The man touched his chest and bowed slightly. "Andrew Obina Namdi. People call me Obina, but Andrew is fine." Kingsley studied his tired face, then turned to his mother's fading eyes. "He chose the only thing left, faith. Andrew..." "How?" Andrew knelt beside the wheelchair. He placed his old bag on the ground and opened it carefully as though it held something precious. Inside were neatly wrapped leaves, roots, and small calabashes. Gasps rose from the crowd. "Herbs?" a nurse muttered. A reporter pushed closer while security stiffened. "I learned to read the body before I learned to read books," Andrew explained calmly. "Sometimes the body forgets its way. Herbs help it remember." He lifted a glossy green leaf still wet with morning dew. "This one calms the nerves. It wakes what fear has closed." Kingsley's hands shook. "What are you going to do?" "Only this," Andrew said. "No needles, no potions. I will rub her legs, speak to her bones, and wait." Security glanced at Kingsley. After a long breath, the billionaire nodded. "Do it." The crowd pressed closer. Phones rose. Nurses hovered, ready to intervene. Andrew's fingers trembled, then steadied. He leaned close to Madame Amanda. "Mama, I know you can hear me. Your legs are not gone. They only forgot how to move. Listen to my hand. Listen to your heart. We will call your legs back now." He crushed the leaf between his palms, releasing a fresh scent of mint, earth, and rain. Slowly, he massaged Amanda's right calf in firm, respectful circles. The crowd watched silently. His hands moved to her ankle, pressing points as though following a hidden map on her skin. He repeated the ritual on her left leg with the same care. Madame Amanda closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek. "When I count to 5, Andrew whispered, your feet will remember the way home. Kingsley will lift you. You will stand." Kingsley's throat tightened. "Mama." Her fingers gripped his sleeve. Andrew said softly, 2, 3, 4. He paused, holding her gaze. He nodded at Kingsley. The billionaire slid his arms under his mother's elbows. Security leaned in. Nurses froze. The crowd held its breath. "Ready, Mama?" Kingsley asked. She nodded, weak but sure. At first nothing happened. Then her right foot twitched. Her left pressed down. A ripple ran through her legs like water stirred by a boat. Her knees quivered, straightened, then locked. She stood, unsteady but tall. The crowd gasped. "Take one step, Mama," Andrew urged gently. She looked at her son, then at Andrew, then down at her own feet as if meeting them again for the first time. She lifted her right foot and placed it firmly on the ground. One step, the courtyard erupted in shouts. She took another, then another. Kingsley sobbed quietly. Nurses covered their mouths in shock. Phones shook as people cried and laughed at once. "I can walk," Madame Amanda whispered in disbelief. "Say it to your legs," Andrew told her. "I can walk," she repeated, louder now, her voice breaking. Kingsley pulled Andrew into a tight embrace, the man's old bag slipping to the floor. Tears streamed down his face. "Thank you. Thank you. I don't care who you are or how you look. You gave my mother back to me." For a moment, Andrew's arms hung stiff as if they had forgotten the feel of a hug. Then slowly he hugged Kingsley back, eyes glistening. It should have ended there, with joy, applause, and a miracle marked in Lagos air. But life rarely ends at the first light. It tests it. "Step away from the patient," a harsh voice commanded. A doctor in a white coat, face tight with anger and embarrassment, pushed through with 2 security guards. "What did you put on her? Who gave permission?" This is a hospital, not a marketplace. Kingsley released Andrew. The healer turned with open palms. Dr. Ike, you could have killed her, the doctor snapped. Seize that bag. Security reached for Andrew's old bag, the same one he had carried through storms, holding the tools of his only purpose. Andrew flinched but then straightened, refusing to resist. Wait. Kingsley stepped in. You saw what happened. She's standing. Everyone saw it. What I saw, the doctor retorted, voice trembling, was an unqualified man touching a vulnerable patient. If something goes wrong, if there's a reaction, I will be the one held accountable. Release the bag. The crowd, moments ago filled with joy, shifted into unease. Nurses fidgeted. Security hesitated between orders and truth. Still standing on her own legs, Madame Amanda lifted her chin. Leave the boy's bag. The doctor glared at her, then at Kingsley. Sir, step aside. We must examine her, test her, and document everything. We must know what he used. Andrew's eyes dimmed for a moment. He had seen this before, miracles followed by doubt. Folding his hands, he said quietly, Doctor, I will tell you everything. I hide nothing. Healing grows stronger when it is shared. But let me keep my tools. Kingsley looked from the doctor's stern face to his mother's renewed strength, then to the worn bag that carried pieces of a nearly broken life. In that moment, he made a decision that would shape all their futures. Placing a steady hand on Andrew's shoulder, he said firmly, Pick up your bag. You're coming with us, gasps spread. Murmurs followed. The cameraman leaned in for a better shot. A nurse whispered, With you? To where? Kingsley's eyes moved to the row of black SUVs waiting by the curb. Home, the doctor protested sharply. Mr. Anderson, this goes against protocol. Kingsley's voice cut through, calm but unyielding. Watch me. He turned to his mother. Mama, can you walk to the car? Madame Amanda, smiling through tears, replied, I can try. But she didn't just try, she walked. Step by step, she crossed the courtyard where she had once entered as a patient in chains, now leaving as a woman restored. People moved aside for her as though she were royalty, the queen of a battle she had just won. Andrew lifted his bag carefully, the same way he had once lifted a healing leaf. He followed, half afraid someone might snatch it away, half afraid he would wake back under the bridge where nights felt like endless bites of mosquitoes. At the SUVs, a driver folded the wheelchair and slid it into the trunk. Another opened the door. Kingsley helped his mother inside, then turned to Andrew. Ride with us, please. Andrew hesitated. He hadn't sat in a car for years. He was used to walking, waiting, being unseen. But Kingsley's warm eyes reassured him. He nodded and climbed in. The door closed with a thump, and the convoy rolled out of the hospital gates, heading toward Banana Island, where mansions stood like museums and the air carried the scent of old wealth and new ambitions. Inside the car, silence joined them. The city passed by, yellow buses, hawkers selling plantain chips, boys tapping on windows with sachet water. Andrew watched it like a film from a life long gone. He looked at his hands lined with both loss and survival and closed them tightly. Kingsley cleared his throat. Andrew, who are you really? Andrew opened his mouth, but before he could answer, the convoy slowed at the towering black gates of the mansion. Guards stood at attention as the gates swung wide. They drove in beneath palm trees stretching like giant green hands over the ground. The White House glowed against the blue sky. Andrew's heart raced. People live here? He whispered. Kingsley gave a quiet smile. People try. The car stopped. Staff rushed to assist Madame Amanda but froze when they saw her step out unaided. A maid screamed, dropped to her knees, and wept. A chef dropped his tray. A gardener crossed himself. All eyes turned to Andrew, as though he were an angel hidden in rags. Madame Amanda pointed to him. Thank this man. God used him to give me back my legs. Applause erupted. Voices rose. God bless you, sir, someone shouted. Andrew's eyes filled with tears as he bowed his head, overwhelmed. Kingsley spoke softly to his assistant. Take him to the salon. Let him wash, rest, and change into something decent. The assistant nodded and led Andrew inside. Hot water poured over his shoulders, washing away years of struggle. A barber trimmed his beard with care, as if cutting away pain itself. When they offered him a navy blue caftan, he touched it gently before slipping it on. In the mirror, he saw not a stranger but a man he once knew. Minutes later, Andrew entered the study. The room carried the scent of books and cedar. Kingsley stood by the window. Madame Amanda sat calmly, her legs crossed in quiet triumph. Kingsley turned, studied Andrew's renewed face, and asked again, this time gently with gratitude mixed with apprehension. "Who are you?" Andrew drew a breath, eyes shining. "I learned how to heal before life tried to break me." Before he could continue, a shout echoed from the hallway. "Urgent. Close. Sir, you need to come now." Kingsley's assistant burst into the room, pale-faced. "Sir, the press is outside, dozens of them. They're demanding to know how Madame Amanda walked again. They want to see the man who healed her." Kingsley's jaw hardened. "Tell them to wait. No one disturbs my mother." But Madame Amanda lifted her trembling hand. "Let them in. The world must see what God has done." Her voice was calm, but her eyes glistened. She had once fought for her son. Now she wanted to fight for the man who restored her. Andrew froze. Cameras, reporters, lights. He hadn't faced such a crowd since the day he was accused of murder. His hands shook. His bag, his anchor, lay by his feet. Kingsley noticed his fear and placed a steady hand on his shoulder.
"No one will harm you here."
"Not while I live." The grand doors opened. Reporters surged into the marble hall, flashbulbs bursting, voices shouting, "How did it happen? Is this magic? What leaf did he use?" Guards tried to control the chaos, but Amanda's voice rose above it all. "This man in the navy blue caftan healed me. When doctors failed, he did not. He was not sent by men, but by mercy." "Respect him," gasp spread. Cameras turned to Andrew. For the first time in years, he was not invisible, but the lights cut like blades. His chest tightened as old memories returned. Cold cells, stale food, chains, whispers of murderer. A reporter pushed forward. "Sir, what's your name?" Andrew's lips trembled. He wanted to disappear into shadow. But Madame Amanda touched his arm. Her eyes told him, "Be brave." Andrew spoke slowly. "My name is Andrew Oben Namdi. I was once a healer, but life turned me into a shadow." Later, in the quiet of the study, Andrew finally told the truth. His voice broke, but he forced each word out. "I was trained in herbs by my father. I treated paralysis, seizures, fevers. Doctors couldn't explain how. Then the son of a powerful politician was brought to me. I prepared the medicine, but his father's enemies poisoned my herbs. The boy died, and when they cut him open, the poison was found." "It's not to the fine," Kingsley said, brow furrowed. "You mean they framed you?" Andrew nodded. "Yes, they accused me of murder. I spent 5 years in chains. I watched my parents die while I was locked away. When I left prison, I had nothing, and my clinic gone, my name ruined. I wandered until I forgot who I was except for this bag." He tapped the worn leather satchel beside him. "Inside are the last herbs I keep. They remind me I once saved lives instead of bringing shame." The room went still. Even Kingsley's assistant wiped his eyes. Kingsley stepped forward, voice trembling. "You didn't just save someone. You saved my mother. You gave me hope. I swear your story won't end in shame." The next morning, Kingsley's announcement rocked Lagos. At a press conference beside Andrew and his mother, he declared, "This man will not be mocked. He will be honored. I am funding a clinic in the heart of Lagos where herbal knowledge and modern medicine will meet. It will be called the Kindness Autopathy Clinic. And Andrew will lead it." The hall burst into noise, applause, whispers, doubt. But none could deny the miracle they had seen. Reporters asked, "Why call it kindness?" Kingsley looked at Andrew, then at his mother. "Because kindness was all he gave us, and it was enough to change everything." As the news spread, danger followed. In Abuja, a political figure watched the report with a clenched jaw. His son had died 5 years earlier in the scandal that nearly ruined him, and now the man he blamed was being celebrated. He picked up his phone. "Find him." "Watch him. If he threatens us again, silence him." That night at the mansion, Andrew lay awake on a real bed for the first time in years. He pressed his fingers into the mattress, testing if it was real, and eyed the folded navy caftan jacket on a chair. Hope swelled, but fear lingered. Why me? Why now? Outside, a man in black slipped past the gates after whispering to a guard and pressing something into his hand. He moved unseen across Banana Island's quiet grounds, boots sinking into grass, a small device blinking red in his gloved hand. An earpiece linked him to the politician's voice in Abuja. "Find out what he carries. That bag? He cannot rise again. Do you hear me?" The intruder's lips curled. "Yes, sir." Before dawn, he intended, Andrew Owena would be dealt with. Inside the house, Kingsley sat in his study, unable to sleep. Madame Amanda lay resting like a queen restored, but Kingsley's mind replayed the hospital scene, the way Andrew bent, the leaf in his hand, the sudden recovery. Was it truly herbs or something science couldn't explain? He poured water and stared out the window. Could he trust Andrew, or had he brought danger into his home? Andrew appeared in the doorway, bag over his shoulder, and bowed slightly. "Sir, forgive me. I couldn't sleep. It's too quiet here, and I'm used to street noise." Kingsley motioned for him to sit. "No need to apologize. Tell me, how do your herbs work when doctors fail?" Andrew sank into the chair, shadows in his eyes. "My father taught me that herbs are like people. Some are gentle, some stubborn. Some calm the body, others awaken it. I learned to hear their voices. Powerful men feared what they didn't understand and turned me into an enemy. Now I only want to heal, to bring life again, even if my own has been broken." Before Kingsley could answer, a crash sounded outside, guards shouting, a dog barking, then sudden silence. They ran into the hallway where maids peered nervously. A guard staggered in, clutching his stomach, blood staining his shirt. "Sir, someone's inside the compound," he gasped before collapsing. Madame Amanda called from her room. "Kingsley, what's happening?" "Stay inside, Mama," Kingsley shouted back, panic rising. Andrew knelt by the fallen guard and checked his pulse. "He's alive, just wounded." His eyes flicked to the window. "Whoever did this, they weren't here to steal. They came for me. Why would anyone?" Kingsley asked. Andrew cut in. "My miracle exposed old enemies. They don't want me living. They want me buried." A shadow moved at the courtyard edge. A man in black sprinted across the lawn, a knife flashing under the moon. Guards rushed to stop him, but he was fast, too fast. His target was clear, Andrew. Andrew grabbed a wooden star from the hallway wall, an old ceremonial piece, ready to defend himself. Kingsley held the staff his father once owned, his grip tight and his body alert. The intruder burst through the door with a knife raised. Kingsley shoved Andrew back. "Get down." Andrew swung the staff low and struck the intruder's wrist. The knife fell to the floor. Guards rushed in and restrained the man, pinning him to the ground. Kingsley picked up the knife, anger clear in his eyes. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The intruder, blood at his lips, sneered. "You think miracles are free? That man," he spat at Andrew, "was never meant to rise again. My master will finish what prison started." Andrew's heart raced. He immediately knew who the intruder meant, the politician who had wrecked his life 5 years earlier, and still wanted him silenced. The guards dragged the intruder away, but before he left, he hissed a final warning. "This is only the beginning. Next time we won't miss." After the struggle, a heavy quiet settled. Kingsley, breathing hard, turned to Andrew. "You're telling me someone tried to kill you before and now they've found you again?" Andrew nodded, voice breaking. "The same man who poisoned my herbs and had me imprisoned. He won't stop. Not while I live." Kingsley clenched his fists. "Hear me, Andrew. You're not alone anymore. I won't let them destroy you again." Still, fear lingered. If an attack reached his mansion once, what greater danger lay ahead? How long before Andrew's miracle became a curse for them all? That night, Andrew sat by the window of his new room, the staff in his hand. He looked at the bag of herbs on the table. His gift had saved a life, but it had also stirred enemies from his past. Far away in Abuja, the politician poured himself a glass of wine and smiled. "The game has just begun," he murmured. Morning sunlight spread across Banana Island, lighting the white walls of Kingsley Anderson's mansion. But inside the mood was tense. Guards doubled at the gates, patrols moved in pairs, and servants whispered as if the walls listened. Andrew sat at the long dining table with untouched food before him. He'd been given fresh clothes again, a crisp cream abada, but he felt no peace. The bag of herbs sat at his feet. He kept it close and didn't let it out of reach. Madame Amanda entered, walking slowly but firmly, her smile calm despite the tension. The maids whispered, amazed she could move without help. She sat beside Andrew and touched his hand. "You saved me. Don't let the shadows take your joy." Andrew's lips trembled. "Ma'am, my joy has brought danger to your house. If anything happens to you or Kingsley because of me—" He fell silent, shaking his head. Kingsley arrived then, looking exhausted from a night of talking to guards and making calls. "We need answers," he said. "The man who tried to kill you refused to talk, but this isn't random. You were framed once. They'll try again. Andrew lowered his eyes. They already have eyes here. That assassin didn't just slip past your walls. Someone let him in. The room went quiet. The idea hung in the air. A mole in the mansion. Kingsley set his jaw. If true, the threat was closer than he'd thought. Later that day, a letter was slipped under the mansion gate, not by post or courier. The guard who found it swore he'd seen no one. Kingsley opened it at his desk. The paper smelled faintly of tobacco and dust. The handwriting was sharp, as if carved. It read, "You should have left her where she belonged. Miracles come with a price. Meet us tonight at Eligushi Beach or you will lose more than you gained." Kingsley crushed the paper in his fist. "They're threatening my mother," he said. Andrew's voice was calm but firm. "No, they're threatening me. Let me face them." Kingsley shot back. "Alone? Never. Do you know what these men are capable of?" Andrew's eyes darkened. "I know better than you, Kingsley. I wore their chains. I buried my parents because of them. They destroyed my past. If I run now, they'll destroy my future too." Madame Amanda interrupted, steady despite trembling legs. "Enough. You will not meet darkness with anger. If you go, go with wisdom. Promise me that." That night the sea roared. Waves crashed the shore and salt sprayed the air. Kingsley's convoy of SUVs rolled onto the sand with headlights off. Guards flanked the vehicles, weapons ready. Andrew stepped out with his bag across his shoulder. He wore his navy blue kapan again, but walked barefoot to feel the earth as his father taught him. From the dark ahead, 4 men in black suits emerged. In the center stood a tall man with silver hair and an expensive agbada flapping in the wind. His eyes were fixed on Andrew. "Obina," he sneered, alive and parading like a hero. "Didn't prison teach you your place?" Andrew's chest tightened. The name was Senator Okoro, the man who had ruined his life and turned him from healer into fugitive. Kingsley stepped forward, voice sharp with anger. "You sent an assassin into my home. You threatened my mother. Why? What does Andrew have to do with you?" Okoro laughed coldly. "Because this man is a stain. He killed my son." Andrew's fists curled. "I did not kill him. You know the truth. Your enemies poisoned the herbs. You needed someone to blame, and I was convenient." The senator's eyes narrowed. "Convenient or not, you will not rise again. The world may celebrate you today, but tomorrow you'll be back in chains or buried beneath the same sand you stand on. This is the end of your service." The guards on both sides tensed, weapons ready. The crash of the waves echoed between them. Kingsley's voice thundered, "Touch him, and I swear every camera in Lagos will expose what you've done." The senator smirked. "Who will believe a homeless man and a desperate CEO? Truth is built with money, and I have more than both of you." Andrew stepped forward, his worn bag swinging gently. "Money cannot erase miracles. Your son died because of hatred, not because of me. And if you try to silence me again, remember this. I do not fear death anymore. I already died once in your prison. What I fear is leaving people broken when I could heal them. That is why I will not stop." The wind howled. The senator's men gripped their weapons tighter. Kingsley's guards raised theirs in response. For a heartbeat, the beach seemed to hold its breath. Then sirens pierced the air. Bright lights cut across the sand. Police trucks roared in, headlights blazing. Officers leapt down, rifles drawn. The senator's smirk faltered. "What is this?" he asked. Kingsley's voice was calm now, cold and deliberate. "You're not the only one with power, Senator. I recorded every word you said tonight, and I called the commissioner before we left the mansion." Gasps spread. The senator's men froze. The officers closed in, but the senator only laughed softly, almost with pity. "Do you think chains can hold me, Kingsley? Do you think courts can touch me? Lagos runs on men like me." Still, as the officers surrounded him, he raised his hands. "Enjoy your victory for now. But this story is far from over." Back at the mansion, Andrew sat beside Madame Amanda. His hands trembled as he recounted the night's events. "They won't stop, Mama. The senator is too powerful. He will come again." Amanda touched his cheek gently. "Let him come. A man who fights against truth fights against God, and no man wins that battle." Kingsley entered, his voice heavy. "The police took him, but he's right. Money bends justice. We must be ready." Andrew glanced down at his bag, his herbs, the only weapon and hope he had. He whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "If they want a war, then I must heal faster than they can harm." Yet deep inside, a chill spread. The miracle that saved Amanda was now a flame drawing enemies closer. and the fire was only beginning. That night, as Andrew tried to sleep, he dreamt of fire, of chains, of his parents calling to him from across a river he could not cross. He woke in sweat, one thought burning in his heart. The miracle has a price, and I am not sure I can pay it. The weeks that followed felt like standing at the edge of a storm. Lagos buzzed with rumors. Newspapers shouted headlines. Miracle at Lagos Ultramodern Hospital. Billionaire's mother walks again. Homeless man or healer. The mystery of Andrew Obina, Senator Okoro in custody. But for how long? The city could not stop talking. Some believed Andrew was a miracle worker sent by God. Others whispered he was a fraud, a sorcerer, or a man cursed by his past. Through it all, Andrew stayed quietly in the mansion. He moved from his new room to Madame Amanda's side, checking her legs, rubbing her feet gently with herbs to keep her strength. He ate sparingly, always keeping his old bag close. But Kingsley wasn't quiet. He was planning. One evening, Kingsley gathered his mother and Andrew in the study. The room glowed with candlelight, but his eyes burned with determination. "I've bought a building in the heart of Lagos," he said. "It's large, central, easy to find, and I want it to carry your name, Andrew." Andrew blinked in shock. "My name? But why?" "Because Lagos doesn't need another hospital," Kingsley replied. "It needs hope. Doctors do their part, yes, but what you did was different. You gave my mother back her life. You gave me back my joy. People deserve to see that kind of healing. This clinic will be called Kindness Autopathy Clinic, because kindness is what saved us." Tears filled Amanda's eyes as she reached for Andrew's hand. "Son, do not hide anymore. The world is ready to see who you are." Andrew shook his head, torn between gratitude and fear. "Kingsley, Mama, I'm not sure the world is ready. They hate what they don't understand. They may come for me again." Kingsley's voice was steady. "Then let them come. We will meet them with truth." The day of the launch arrived. The streets outside the new clinic overflowed with people. Politicians, reporters, villagers, businessmen, mothers clutching sick children. Cameras swung like watchful eyes. The building stood tall, painted white and gold, with bold black letters across the front. Kindness Autopathy Clinic. Andrew stood on the steps in a navy caftan. Beside him, Kingsley in his white agbada and red cap. On his other side, Madame Amanda in a flowing lace gown, walking proudly without help. When Andrew stepped forward to speak, the crowd fell silent. He gripped the podium, his voice trembling at first, then growing stronger. "My name is Andrew Oben Namdi. Some of you know me as a homeless man. Some of you may have heard that I was once a prisoner. Both are true. 5 years ago, I was accused of a death I did not cause. In that single moment, I lost my parents, my clinic, and even myself. I believed I had no reason to live. Then one day, outside a hospital, I saw a young boy crying for his mother. His voice reminded me of who I used to be. I remembered the time I rubbed a single leaf on a woman's leg, and she was able to walk again. It wasn't just the herbs, it was kindness. That is why we are here today. This clinic is not mine alone. It belongs to us all. It belongs to every abandoned child, every mother who has lost hope, and every father told that nothing more can be done. Here we will not only treat illness, we will restore dignity." The crowd erupted with cheers. Kingsley hugged him tightly. Amanda raised her hands to the sky and cried out, "Thank you, Lord, for returning my son and giving me another in Andrew." Yet not everyone celebrated. At the edge of the crowd, hidden behind sunglasses and a black cap, a man watched in silence. Senator Okoro had slipped out of custody by bribing his way through the cracks of justice. His eyes burned with hatred. "Enjoy your moment, healer," he muttered. "But your miracle will be the cause of your downfall." With that, he turned and disappeared into the city. The weeks after the launch changed everything. Patients crowded into the clinic, some paralyzed, some blind, some carrying children doctors had already given up on. Andrew trained young apprentices, teaching them not just the language of herbs, but the practice of patience. For the first time in years, he smiled without fear. He even found love. Her name was Pamela, a nurse who volunteered at the clinic. Her laughter was bright and her faith was unwavering. She did not see him as broken, but as someone reborn. They married in a small ceremony. Kingsley stood as his best man, while Amanda proudly walked Pamela down the aisle before placing her hand in Andrew's. Months later, Kingsley also married his longtime fiancée, Sonia, a medical doctor. Their weddings were celebrated together side by side, a symbol of friendship born through pain yet bound by destiny. Amanda wept with joy. "I dreamed of holding your children before I left this world," she whispered. "Promise me you'll give me that gift." Both couples laughed through their tears. "You will hold them, Mama," they promised. But life, as always, was both kind and cruel. 8 months later, Amanda's dream was close to becoming real. Both Pamela and Sonia were heavily pregnant, one carrying Andrew's son, the other Kingsley's daughter. Amanda would sit on the veranda, knitting tiny clothes, humming old songs, her eyes glowing with anticipation. Then one morning she did not wake up. She had passed peacefully in her sleep, her hands folded over her chest, a smile resting on her lips. The house was filled with grief. Kingsley collapsed beside her bed, while Andrew wept openly for the woman who had called him son. The clinic closed for 3 days as Lagos mourned the miracle woman. At her burial, crowds lined the streets. Amanda was laid to rest beside her husband, her legacy carried forward in the lives she touched. And then, as if heaven had prepared a final gift, just 1 month after her burial, Pamela gave birth to a baby boy. Andrew held him in his arms, his voice breaking. "I will name him Namdi after my father, so that my family may live again." Sonia too gave birth to a baby girl. Kingsley kissed her tiny forehead and whispered, "Your name will be Amanda, after the grandmother who saved us all." 2 children, born of sorrow yet carrying the promise of hope. One evening, Andrew stood outside the clinic with baby Namdi in his arms, watching the sunset over Lagos. Kingsley stood beside him, holding baby Amanda. They looked at each other with tears in their eyes and smiled. "Brother," Kingsley said softly, "they tried to destroy you, but look at you now. You healed my mother. You healed me, and now you will heal this city." Andrew gazed at the sign above the clinic, Kindness Autopathy Clinic, and whispered, "Kindness always has a name. Today its name is Amanda and Namdi." The crowd of patients outside clapped, cheered, and sang. The city that once rejected him now lifted him high, and although enemies still watched from the shadows, Andrew knew the truth. The miracle was never just healing bodies, it was healing lives. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories.